That one sentence almost gets 2 men killed. And of course Ralph is involved, because somehow every stupid disaster in this show has Ralph standing somewhere near the beginning of it. And it feels like the kind of thing that should die in the room. But it doesn't disappear, and once it reaches Ginny Sack, people stop laughing. By the time Carmine Lupertazzi gets involved, the whole thing has gotten so serious that even he starts choosing his words like they can explode in his hand.
Nothing.
What does that mean?
I didn't say nothing.
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
The more you sit with it, the less clean it gets. It sounds like Carmine is backing away. It also sounds like he is leaving something open. He gives Tony a sentence with no clear fingerprints on it, and Tony just sits there for a second, taking it in, because men like this do not need the whole thing said out loud. We will come back to that phone call. First, we will see how a joke that should have died in the room made it all the way to Carmine speaking in pure mafia code. The first place the joke moves is to Paulie. Little Paulie goes to visit him in prison, and already the scene feels different from the room where Ralph said it. There, it was loud. Everybody was comfortable. It was guys sitting around, laughing at something they should probably know better than to laugh at. Here, Paulie is behind glass, wearing orange, listening through a prison phone while little Paulie brings him updates from the outside world. Paulie is already separated from the life he thinks should still be respecting him. He is locked up, he is asking about his mother, smiling, still waiting for the laugh, and Paulie gives him the kind of look that tells you the room has already changed.
And you think it's funny?
Now, coming from Paulie, that is rich. This is not exactly the ambassador of sensitivity. This is a man who has said horrible things in every room he has ever entered. But Paulie is not hearing it as a moral issue. He is hearing Ralph's name. And Paulie already hates Ralph, treated like he matters, while Paulie is sitting in prison trying to make sure people still remember him. So the joke lands in the worst possible place. It lands with a man who is bored, resentful, insecure, and already looking for little ways to stay useful from behind glass. Little Paulie thinks he passed along a joke. Paulie hears something he can use, and now the joke reaches the husband. This is where it stops being loose gossip and turns into something with a target. Paulie calls Johnny, and he does this whole performance thing where he acts like he is trying not to say it.
I just want to say, I hope your feelings weren't hurt too bad, and that it never got back to the missus.
Instead of saying what it was directly, he circles it. He slows it down. He makes Johnny pull it out of him, because that way Paulie gets to look loyal without looking like a rat. He gives Johnny just enough to get him leaning forward.
Fuck you talking about?
You didn't hear the joke about Ginny?
Never mind. Let it die at that. You're better off not hearing it. Trust me.
Fuck that. I demand you tell me, Paulie.
He knows Ginny is the soft spot. He knows Johnny is proud, emotional, and very easy to move when it comes to her. So Paulie keeps pretending he is uncomfortable while he is handing Johnny the exact thing that will make him explode. In Ralph's room, it was laughter. With little Paulie, it was gossip. With Paulie, it was a bullet. With Johnny, it becomes an insult to his wife, his marriage, his name, his whole image of himself as the one guy in this life who treats his woman like she matters. Now Johnny brings it to Tony. And the first thing you notice is how serious his face is. Johnny is sitting there like somebody already crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. He is offended in that old school way where the insult becomes bigger because he keeps forcing himself to say it calmly. Must have been the wind. Tony would never do such thing. But Johnny is too angry to care about Tony's performance. He is there to make Tony understand that Ralph insulted his wife. And when Johnny says Ralph violated Ginny's honor, the whole thing changes shape. Tony can't treat it like dumb table talk anymore. Johnny is making it about respect, marriage, and reputation, which are the exact words these guys use when they want permission to act insane. So now Tony is trapped between the stupidity of the cause and the seriousness of the reaction. One joke has reached the wrong husband, and the husband is already making it everybody's problem. Now Johnny takes it to Carmine. And this is the first time you really see how far Johnny has taken it in his own head.
I want you to sanction the hit on Ralph Soprano.
That sentence is insane when you remember where it started. A joke at a table has now become Ginny Sack sitting in front of the boss of New York, asking permission to kill one of Jersey's biggest earners. And Carmine's reaction tells you everything about the difference between them. Carmine's face says the thing he is too old and too careful to say too loudly.
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
Johnny is talking like a husband. Carmine is listening like a businessman. Johnny says Ralph violated Ginny's honor, and Carmine almost looks confused by how emotional the whole thing is. He asks questions like he is trying to find the part that justifies the murder request.
Ralph slept with Jenny?
Because in Carmine's mind, there has to be something else here. Something physical and direct. Something that makes the punishment match the request. Ralph makes everybody money. And Johnny is asking Carmine to risk all of that because somebody laughed at his wife. Carmine is trying to find a way for everybody to get paid and go home.
It's $100,000.
And Johnny hears that as another insult.
What's next, Carmine? You get the fucker for $1 million?
And Carmine, completely serious, goes,
He wants to fuck her?
Again, Carmine is trying to find a reason that makes killing Ralph make sense, something more than a stupid joke. But Johnny is trying to make this big emotional point about his wife's honor until he finally snaps.
I'm making a point. I'm talking about my wife's honor here, my honor.
And Carmine gives him nothing. He just sits there and drinks his coffee. No comfort, no outrage, just sipping that coffee. Because to Carmine, this is bigger than Ralph, and somehow also much smaller than Johnny thinks. And from this point on, Carmine starts looking at Johnny differently. The problem in the room is no longer only Ralph's mouth. Now it is Johnny's pride, because Johnny is showing Carmine that if his feelings get hit hard enough, business stops mattering to him. We move on with what I think is Carmine's last straw. Johnny asks for a sit-down with Ralph, and technically he gets what he asked for. Ralph starts talking, and Johnny shuts down almost immediately.
Excuse me. I can't do this.
Why? John, what's wrong?
That is the first sign that Carmine's problem is bigger than he thought. Johnny wanted the sit-down. He wanted Ralph in front of him, so this gets handled like business. And now that Ralph is actually sitting across from him, Johnny cannot even stay in the chair. He tells Carmine he cannot be in the same room with this man. But Carmine is watching closely. In his mind, the Ralph thing is invisible. He is observing Johnny as a person here. A boss can work with anger when it still follows the rules. A boss can work with insult when the insult still has a price. But Johnny is sitting inside the room he asked for, and his own emotion is making the meeting impossible. So they try again without Ralph and changes the room. Because now Tony has his own problem. Somebody from Jersey carried this story to New York, and Johnny will not say who it was. So Johnny wants Ralph punished, but he is also protecting the person who made the punishment possible. Tony gives him the only path that could work.
Who told you about it? We'll bring him in here. He corroborates what you're saying? I'll give you Ralph on a platter.
Johnny refuses, and now the sit-down starts collapsing for a different reason. Johnny keeps talking about honor, but he will not give them the name. He wants the room to treat the insult like a fact, while hiding the one person who could prove it. An apology gets mentioned. Money gets mentioned. A piece of Ralph's company gets mentioned. Johnny rejects all of it. Then Carmine says the line that separates him from everyone else in the room.
There are millions of dollars at stake.
Again with the money?
Yeah, again with the money. It's settled, John. So either name a price or get the fuck over it.
That is Carmine looking at the whole situation without romance. Ralph is tied to a job that makes millions, and Johnny keeps acting like his hurt pride should be allowed to step over all of it. So Carmine shuts the door. Name a price or get over it. And Johnny gives him nothing. Carmine has now watched Johnny ask for blood, reject money, reject apology, reject procedure, hide his source, and failed to sit in the same room with the man he wants punished. Ralph is still the name everybody is saying, but by the end of this sit-down, Carmine has a different problem in front of him. Now we get the phone call. And before Carmine even starts talking, I wanted to point out at the difference between them. Carmine is awake, alert, dressed, sitting there like the day already belongs to him. Tony answers the phone half asleep, late into the morning, barely put together, trying to catch up to a conversation Carmine is already controlling. No wonder Carmine looked at Jersey like a glorified crew.
It's me. What, are you still asleep?
In this call, Carmine is playing the game at a level Tony is still waking up into. Then he tells Tony,
Ralph's got a big problem, kid.
and right away, Carmine has placed the problem in Tony's lap without picking it up himself. Tony asks him, that is the first move, clean hands. Carmine is the boss of New York. Johnny is his underboss. Ralph is tied to Tony, and the job he takes care of is tied to both families. But the second Tony asks what Carmine is going to do, Carmine steps away from his own problem like it has nothing to do with him. Tony hears the opening.
What does that mean?
I didn't say nothing.
That line is so gangster because it can be heard two ways. To anybody else, Carmine is denying everything. To Tony, Carmine is leaving the sentence unfinished on purpose. He is concealing his intention, saying less than necessary, and making Tony walk the rest of the way by himself. Then Carmine gives him the real subject.
We share the Esplanade, Tony.
Now he is telling Tony where the danger is. The issue is no longer the joke. It is the money, the relationship between New York and Jersey, the thing that keeps all of them fed. Then he says,
I don't want that apple cart upset.
he makes it sound like he wants peace. But the apple cart is the business, and Johnny is the man threatening to knock it over. Carmine never says that part directly. He doesn't need to. Tony says it for him.
Yeah, then somebody should do something about it.
And Carmine answers,
I appreciate your thoughts.
that is probably my favorite sentence, he says. That is how sharp Carmine is. A man can get marked for death off 4 polite words. No yelling, no threat, no order, no name attached to it. Carmine got Tony to deal the card for him, and Tony knows it while it is happening.
You saying what I think you're saying?
Carmine goes right back behind the wall.
I didn't say nothing.
And by the end of the call, Carmine has done the impossible thing. He has given the go-ahead for murder while leaving almost nothing anyone could repeat back to him. Tony hangs up with the meaning. Carmine hangs up with... Johnny has been able to carry this like a clean insult. Ralph said something disgusting about his wife, so Ralph had to answer for it. But now Ginny is right in front of him, embarrassed in her own house, trying to explain herself like she got caught failing him. The offense is still there. Ralph still said it, and Johnny still hates him for it. But if he keeps pushing this, Ginny stays trapped inside the joke. The thing she is already ashamed of becomes the thing everybody keeps discussing, pricing, and passing around. Because killing Ralph would not erase what was said, it would keep it alive. And that is where the whole stupid spiral finally ends. A joke that started in a room without Ginny only dies when Johnny comes home and sees what it did to her.